You paid for 11 free services on your last cruise and used maybe 2. I sat behind that desk for 14 years, watching passengers walk past thousands of dollars in complimentary perks every sailing. Mattress toppers, priority boarding, medical storage, none advertised. All sitting in a closet or a system note, waiting for someone to ask. I'm ranking these 11 from good to absolute gold mine, starting with one you already sort of know about. Number 11. The cabin steward comfort menu. Bathrobes, extra blankets, a small fan, a fruit basket, even a kettle if the ship allows it. Most passengers know robes exist because they see them hanging in the closet on day one. What they don't know is that you can ask for more: a second robe, a thicker blanket, a fruit basket that gets refilled every 2 days instead of once. I watch thousands of passengers use exactly one of these items and never think to ask for the rest. Here's the part that surprised me when I first started. Stewards actually want you to ask, because a passenger with a specific, reasonable list is easier to manage than one who complains vaguely on day 5 about being uncomfortable. It's a small thing, but it sets the tone for the whole relationship you'll have with the person cleaning your cabin twice a day for a week. The trick is asking all at once in the first hour before your steward is juggling 18 other cabins full of requests. Say this: could we have bathrobes, a small fan, and an extra blanket if available? 1 sentence, 3 items, nothing complicated. And if the fruit basket runs out, just ask for a refill when you see your steward in the hallway. Nobody tracks it as a special request. It's just part of the job they're already doing, and most stewards would honestly rather you ask directly than guess and feel awkward about it all week. This next one seems small until you're standing in a wrinkled shirt on formal night. Number 10. Complimentary garment pressing. Most lines quietly allow 1 to 3 free pressing requests per passenger for the entire cruise. It's not in your cruise planner, it's not on any sign. It's managed on a first-come basis, and once the quota's gone for that sailing, it's gone. I process these requests constantly, and I'll tell you the pattern every single time. The passengers who asked on day 1 got their formal outfit pressed for free. The ones who waited until day 3 got told the allotment was already claimed and were pointed toward the paid service instead. Usually $8 an item, sometimes more depending on the fabric. Call your cabin steward in the first 24 hours and say, "I'd like to request the complimentary pressing if it's still available for this sailing." Phrase it like you already know it exists. Don't ask, "Do you offer free pressing?" because that invites a reflexive no from someone who's been trained to upsell the paid option first. State it as a known service you're accessing. That one detail changes the answer more than you'd think, and it works because it puts the steward in the position of confirming something rather than deciding something on the spot. I've seen the exact same steward give 2 different answers to 2 different passengers within the same hour, purely based on how the question was phrased. Now we're moving from comfort into something that actually protects your body. Number 9. Luggage handling inside the cabin. Porters get your bags to the corridor. What most passengers don't realize is that stewards will often bring them fully into the room and lift them onto the rack, especially for anyone who shouldn't be hauling 20 kilos over a threshold. I watched more back injuries happen on embarkation afternoon than any other single day of the cruise. And it's always the same story. Someone insists they're fine, drags their own suitcase in, twists wrong, lifting it onto the rack, and by dinner, they're at my desk asking about the medical center and how much an x-ray costs. The ship doctor isn't cheap, and travel insurance rarely covers something you did to yourself unpacking because it falls into that gray area of self-inflicted injury that adjusters love to deny, When your bags arrive outside the door, say, "Our luggage just arrived and we're not able to lift it safely. Is someone available to bring it in?" 30 seconds of asking versus a week of a sore back, or worse, a medical bill that ruins the whole trip. Easy trade, and honestly one of the easiest requests on this entire list to make without feeling like you're asking for something special. Here's where things start getting genuinely useful. Number 8. Mobility device storage and shower seating. On newer ships, there's a secured storage area on most decks specifically for walkers, wheelchairs, and scooters. Your steward tags it, stores it, and brings it back whenever you call. That alone frees up real floor space in a cabin that's maybe 180 square feet, which matters more than people expect once they're actually living in that space for a week and tripping over the same equipment every time they get up at night. Pair that with a shower seat, which many ships keep a limited stock of, and you've solved 2 safety problems nobody warns you about before you board. I remember a couple who spent the first 2 days of their cruise tripping over a walker parked next to the bed because nobody told them storage even existed. Once we moved it, the wife told me it felt like they'd been upgraded to a bigger cabin, and she genuinely meant it, even though nothing about the square footage had changed. Ask early, "Is there secured storage for my walker on this deck? I'd like to keep it out of the cabin when I'm not using it." And separately, "Could you arrange a shower seat for our cabin? I need it for stability. Older ships may not have the space. Newer builds almost always do, so it's worth checking your ship class before you even pack." This next one turns a stressful last morning into something almost peaceful. Number 7. Free room service breakfast and late departure lounges. Most lines still offer a complimentary continental breakfast, coffee and pastries, delivered straight to your cabin on the final morning. Passengers picture stampeding through the buffet with their carry-on bags, elbowing past 300 other people trying to disembark at the same time, when they could be sitting in their cabin, packing at their own pace, sipping coffee that someone else made, and never having to fight for a table. Some lines also run a quiet late departure lounge for anyone with a late transfer or a legitimate reason to wait comfortably, instead of standing in a hallway with their luggage for 2 hours watching everyone else leave first. I used to send passengers there constantly once I found out it existed because most of them had no idea to even ask, and the look of relief when I mentioned it was almost always the same. Call room service and ask, "I'd like to order breakfast for the final morning. What's included in the complimentary options?" And at guest services, ask if there's a late departure lounge available. It's not glamorous. It's just genuinely better than the alternative. And it costs the cruise line almost nothing to offer, which is exactly why it exists quietly in the background instead of on a brochure. Now we're into the ones that can actually save real money. Number 6. Mid-cruise printed account statements. Guest services can print your account balance anytime you ask. Most passengers wait until the final night, which is exactly when 300 other people are also discovering their own billing surprises at the same time. I watch this exact scene repeat every single cruise. Someone finds a $200 error at 11 p.m. on the last night, and there's nothing left to do but stand in a line that isn't moving while their flight is in 10 hours and their patience has completely run out. The fix is embarrassingly simple. Ask for a printed statement on day 3, then again on day 5. It takes about 90 seconds to print, and I mean that literally. I timed it more than once out of boredom during a slow shift on a quiet sea day. Just say, "Could I get a current statement printed for my account?" Don't say interim or mid-cruise statement. Those aren't terms the system recognizes, and it just confuses the conversation and slows everything down unnecessarily. Catch the mistake while there's still time to calmly fix it, not while you're folding shirts into a suitcase with your patience already gone and a flight to catch in the morning. This next one is for anyone who's ever winced at the price on a doctor's bill. Number 5. Medical-grade medication storage. Cabin fridges are not built for insulin or anything that needs a strict temperature range. They cycle up and down more than people realize, sometimes by 10 degrees or more over the course of a day. What most passengers never learn is that the ship's medical center keeps pharmacy-grade refrigeration specifically for this, and it's included, not billed. I saw passengers keep medication in a cabin minibar for a full week out of pure habit, never realizing there was a safer, free option 2 decks away that took 30 seconds to set up and required nothing more than a phone call. On day 1, call the medical center and say, "My medication must stay between 36 and 46 degrees. Can it be stored in the medical center for the cruise?" It's a small phone call that removes a genuinely serious risk, and it's the kind of request the medical staff actually appreciate, because it means one less emergency they have to deal with later in the week when a passenger's medication has already spoiled. We're getting into the perks that quietly change your entire itinerary. Number 4. Priority tender boarding for mobility limitations. At ports without a pier, you take a tender boat ashore, and the line for that boat can run 90 minutes in direct sun with nowhere to sit and nowhere to escape the heat, especially on Caribbean or Mediterranean itineraries in peak season. Every line I worked for kept a priority tender list for passengers with documented mobility needs, but it is never automatic. You have to request it, ideally, before the cruise through accessibility services or at guest services on day 1. I processed this constantly, and the difference was stark. The passengers who asked early got called in the first group, boarding with maybe 15 other people instead of 200 standing in the heat. The ones who showed up at the tender platform and asked that same morning were simply too late. The list was already locked days before, and there was nothing I could do at that point, no matter how much I wanted to help them. Say this on day 1. I have mobility limitations, and I'd like to be added to the priority tender list for ports that require it. That single sentence can save you an entire morning of standing. And on some itineraries, it's the difference between actually enjoying the port and being too exhausted to leave the ship at all once you finally get there. Here's one most passengers assume only applies to suites. Number 3. Complimentary specialty dining for milestones. Anniversaries, honeymoons, significant birthdays. Many lines will comp one specialty restaurant visit as a goodwill gesture, but only if that milestone is noted in your profile before or right at boarding. Mentioning it once you are already seated at the restaurant is too late. The discretion has to be exercised earlier than that, because by then it is already logged as a paid reservation in the system and nobody can reverse it without approval from 3 levels up. I approved these regularly for passengers who were polite, specific, and had a clean history with the line, no complaints stacked up, no pattern of gaming the system on previous sailings. Say, today is our 50th anniversary. If possible, we would like to request a complimentary specialty dining reservation as a courtesy. It is not guaranteed, and it depends heavily on how full that restaurant already is for the week and how the officer reading your account happens to be feeling that day. But I said yes far more often than passengers ever expected, because a genuinely happy passenger who tells 3 friends about their cruise is worth more to the line than one comped dinner that costs them almost nothing to prepare anyway. Now we are at the 2 that made the biggest difference for the people I actually helped. Number 2, mattress toppers and custom pillows. Cruise beds are famously firm, and most passengers just accept 7 nights of bad sleep as part of the deal, like it's the price of admission for being on the water. What they don't know is that ships carry a small stock of memory foam toppers, extra firm or extra soft pillows, and hypoallergenic bedding, and it's distributed on request, not advertised anywhere in the cabin literature or the daily planner. I had one woman ask within the first hour of boarding and had a topper in her cabin 20 minutes later. Her neighbor waited until day 3, and there was nothing left for the rest of the sailing. She spent the whole week complaining about her back at breakfast every single morning, and there was genuinely nothing more I could do for her by that point. Ask your steward immediately, "I have a bad back. Could I please have a mattress topper and an extra firm pillow if available? If you have allergies, add, I also need hypoallergenic bedding due to a sensitivity." This one single request changes the quality of every single night you're on that ship, and it costs you nothing but the 10 seconds it takes to ask on your way to unpack. And this brings us to the one that outranks everything else on this list. Number 1, daily ice delivery and medication support. This sounds almost too small to matter, and that's exactly why nobody asks for it. If you're carrying insulin, injectable medication, or anything temperature sensitive, your cabin steward can deliver ice once or twice a day at no charge, no questions asked, especially when it's tied to a medical need that they can quietly note in their daily routine. I watched passengers make 3 trips a day to a hallway ice machine because it genuinely never occurred to them that this was something they could simply request, and some of them were managing serious conditions the entire time without ever mentioning it to anyone on the ship who could have made their week easier. Say I keep medication that needs to stay cool. Would it be possible to have ice delivered once a day? It's discretionary, it depends on your steward's workload, but ask politely on day 1, and almost every steward will make it happen without hesitation because it takes them 30 seconds and it's genuinely one of the easiest favors on their entire list. Out of everything on this list, this is the one quiet request that protects your health every single day of the cruise without you having to think about it again for the rest of the trip. You don't need all 11. Pick 2 or 3 that fit your next cruise and ask on day 1. Like and subscribe for more.